You're fat, okay? This one is actually motivational, and I want to preface this with I really do love you. I have a lot of empathy for you, for where you're at in your life, but also at the same time I'm not going to blow sunshine, rainbows and lollipops up your butt. Okay? I'm sorry, I'm not. I'm not going to be that guy for you. I'm going to be the guy that shows you more love than the amount of self-love you're showing yourself right now. So, if you're not overweight, you don't really need to chime into this one. Okay. It's okay. This is specifically for people that are overweight. And actually, it's more than half of you. Okay. US based audience. Did you know that statistically, based on a census, 65% of Americans are obese? 17% of which are severely obese. Okay. Now, what does it mean? It actually just means over 30% BMI, which is body mass index, which is a calculation based on the amount of fat you're holding on your body based off of your bone density, your height, your weight, your age, all that stuff. So, I love you. If you're obese, I really do love you, and I'm not shaming you. I'm not. I don't want you to take that this way. I really don't want to speak with your ego. I want to talk to your higher self. And maybe your guard will be let down a little bit if you understand my story. Okay, my whole life, I was wildly underweight. I was the tall, frail, skinny kid, like 85 pounds sopping wet, but I'm 6 foot in high school. You see what I'm saying? Like, real skinny kid. Couldn't gain weight at all. Okay, and in my early 20s, something happened, and that flip-flopped. Actually, not early 20s, mid 20s actually is when it happened. And I blimped up big time. 6 foot 2.5, almost 6 foot 3, and I went from regular being around 180, 185 to I got in a relationship. See, this is what happened, right? It's dangerous. I started eating a lot of pasta, not really focused on physical prowess or keeping my body in shape, and eating a lot of pasta, not protein centric meals, just sort of letting yourself go, getting complacent a little bit. And I found myself obese. I found myself at 246 pounds and 34.5% BMI. And then I stepped on a scale, which, by the way, I highly recommend you. If you're overweight, I really want you to get a smart scale. And, side tangent, but before I continue into my story, but like also, I understand not wanting to weigh yourself and not wanting to step on that scale, not wanting to take your shirt off, wanting to wear baggy clothes everywhere, not wanting to look at yourself in the mirror because you don't like what you look like. I understand all of it. Okay, I was there. I was there. And so I do feel for you and I have empathy for you, but I also have a different take than this whole body positivity movement. And my take, actually, I'm ripped now. I'm shredded. I'm 16% BMI, okay? So I think if I were you, I'd probably listen to me, okay? But do whatever you want, right? I urge you to get a smart scale. And so I stepped on the scale and, discipline wasn't really my issue. It was sort of just a lack of discipline. So it's like a switch. I just turned it on in my head. And we could do a whole different episode about that, but that's something that's harder for some people. But also, I want to tell you something that is actually like light. Okay, this is very positive for you. You're actually at a very amazing strategic advantage. Did you know that? Okay, if you have a large structure, okay, you're obese, you're at a massive strategic advantage. Because when you start taking your physical health seriously, you're either in one of two positions, right? You're either underweight or overweight. I've been both. Okay. So at the time of my life when I was underweight, no matter how much food I ate, I couldn't put it on. No weight was coming. It was my frame wouldn't hold it. Okay. Honestly, I mean, it's a little explicit, but I just poop it out, man. It'd be gone. Okay. But when I was overweight, actually, losing the weight is a lot easier than putting it on. If you're small trying to get big, it's more difficult substantially. This is an argument in the fitness space, but I'm here to squash that because I've been both and I can tell you unequivocally, it is easier to go from fat to muscular than skinny and scrawny to muscular. I promise you. Because if you're fat, right? You're walking around every time you're doing any movement, your muscles are carrying all that weight. So like literally just walking around and moving is like doing a workout. It's like you've got a ruck on all the time. And so you've already got muscles under there. They're just hidden. They're just covered up, man. Okay? Or woman. I'm telling you. All right? So you're at a very big strategic advantage being plus size. Now, I want to do away with this whole body positivity. Oh, it's okay. You know, I, I'm beautiful exactly how I am. This is how God made me. No, actually, no. I rebuke that concept because guess what? You owe it to you. You owe it to your friends and family, and you owe it to God, most importantly, to take care of your temple. It's literally in the Bible. Take care of your temple, or God will destroy it. Okay? Your body is rented. Your body is not yours. You're a soul. You're a spiritual being having a human experience, and your body is rented. It is from the dirt. It is God's creation. You were created in the image of God. You owe it to God to stop living in sloth, laziness, and gluttony. Okay? Stop doing it. Take care of yourself. And maybe that sounds harsh, but I promise you, this whole conversation's coming from love. I promise. I promise you. I'm not judging you. It's not my place to judge, and I'm telling you I was there. And I'm telling you this entire conversation is structured and framed from the fact that I know it's possible to make this change because I did it. Okay? Literally get a smart scale, find out what your BMI is, find out your starting point, and then decide to make that change and make that decision. Now find out what your BMR is, your base metabolic rate, not BMI. That's base mass index, body mass index. Okay. So find out how much calories you're supposed to be eating to maintain your weight every day. Now drop it by 300 to 500, depending on how aggressive you're trying to go. Here's something else that goes into the nutrition space that, people will tell you, oh yeah, your BMR is 2,500 calories, so just eat 500 calories a day. You'll burn that weight off so fast. No, okay, that's not sustainable. Don't do that. That's absolutely insane. Okay, do a light deficit, 300, 500 if you're really trying to go crazy, and you'll start seeing progress. Increase your movement, decrease your intake, and you will start seeing progress. And also, fitness is at scale. Okay, so if you are literally morbidly obese, okay, you've got a lot of mass on your frame. Okay, let's say you're 5'10" and you're 320 pounds. Okay, I am not telling you to go to the gym 7 days a week and go literally work out for an hour and a half, 2 hours a day and destroy your body so that you have so much lactic acid buildup you can barely move after 2 or 3 days of doing that. I am telling you to up your fitness level from the current rate of scale you're at. If you get 1,500 steps in a day, I want you to do 3,000. If you're walking an average of roughly a quarter to a half mile a day, I want you to double it, right? I want you to walk a mile a day. I'm not saying go run a marathon next week. This is at scale, it's progressive, okay? So you do this over time, a year from now, you're going to be like, I can do more. And you'll start seeing the progress and you'll be like, this is amazing. I made this life change, right? I am telling you, it seems kind of intimidating. Also, I want to tell you something else, okay? And this was me when I got into the gym. This is all I'm speaking all from personal experience and the understanding I have from my story. So please do not feel judged. Please keep your higher self in the driver's seat. I'm not talking to your ego. I'm giving you this with love, even if it sounds a little harsh. But when I started going to the gym, I was so self-conscious because I knew I didn't know what I was doing. Okay, I'm like, what are all these machines? I'm sitting here like looking at the machine picture and then I'm scanning the QR code and watching the video to see like what the movement is. Okay. And I'm thinking, like, I know that I don't know what I'm doing. So I know these people over here that are fit, I know they're probably thinking about me. They're looking at me. They're laughing. Look at that fatso idiot in the gym trying to, whatever. Guess what? Okay. No, I'm going to promise you right now, there's no one in the world, and maybe I'm making an overgeneralization, but there is no one at all ever in the entire world that's in a gym that's going to judge a fat or a heavier set person for getting in the gym and taking care of their health. Nobody. They're not judging you. Even if you don't have any idea what you're doing, I promise. And I had this. I had it for a long time. It took me 3 months to get over this plague in my own mind. Comes to find out, one, if someone does look at you, they're happy. They're like, "Hey, look at that person making a change, doing something about it. That's awesome." Or statistically likely, more likely, they aren't even noticing you. They're in their own vibe. They're listening to a podcast. They're listening to music. They're cracked out on so much caffeine. They can't even see straight. They can't even see you over there. Okay? Nobody's thinking about you. Nobody's looking at you. Nobody's making fun of you. I promise. And the reason why I'm trying to drill this into your head is because I dealt with this. I had this insecurity. And it's completely made up and fabricated in your own mind. It's not real. Okay? So that's one thing I want to cover. Now, also, another thing I want to cover in this podcast that's really mega important, okay? The reason why we have such a big obesity problem, and we won't go too deep down the conspiracy theory rabbit holes here, but it's not conspiracy theory that we have all sorts of additives and fillers in our food that are actually listed globally as actual poisons and degenerative to us at a cellular level, and our food actually isn't sold. It's actually illegal in other countries. Okay. So, what we have here going on is that the governmental agencies, big food and big pharma, okay, they work together in tandem to get you fat, sick, dumb, lethargic, and lazy so that they can then medicate you and walk you down to death your whole life, bill you every step of the way. That's not conspiracy theory. We can actually chart it all out, okay? So, why I say that is because perhaps, by the way, I'm not making generalizations about your life. Again, all personal testimony, okay? This is all personal, my story, okay? Perhaps you might be a little overweight, not because of gluttony or overindulgence or eating too much, but you're just eating the wrong stuff. Okay. And so here's why a lot of people fail on fitness is because to go one day from eating a bunch of processed garbage disguised in the name of fast food. Okay, it's not real food. It's just a series of chemicals designed to taste good and give you a hit of dopamine. And it's full of a bunch of additives that do not process through your body and cause all sorts of digestive diseases and other things. Okay, but perhaps, like I was, you're eating a lot of this processed garbage as the majority of your meals because, it's easier to do that. Cooking is a pain. Going to the grocery store and gathering up your whole list of all the items, ingredients that you're going to cook. And then you have to spend the time cooking and then you have to spend the time cleaning, right? I know the whole game. Okay. You're actually just letting your ego tell you these things because I played that game. I played that game. Oh, it's just the convenience. I also like it. It tastes good. So, I save time and it's even less expensive than going to the grocery store. None of these things I'm saying, which you've probably said to yourself too, not a single one of them's true. They're all lies fabricated by the enemy, i.e., your ego, i.e., Satan, right? We can go into the whole theologian's style about it, right? Because actually, what was the first temptation Satan used in the Bible? Do you know what it was? Food. It's food. Okay, so what if you this is why people fail. I'm trying to stay on topic here, right? People fail because it is a large gap to go because fitness is more than just one thing. It's not doing the physical exercise and taking care of your body. It's also the inputs. What you're feeding your body, sorry, and your mind too, actually. The things that are going inside your ears and eyes actually affect the thoughts that are happening, right? So it's feeding is more than just mouth. But we're talking about fitness here, so it's physical exercise, feeding in the mouth, okay? And so it's hard. I'll acknowledge it. I know it because I did it. It's hard to make a complete reversal 180 where one day you're eating McDonald's maybe 2 or 3 times a week, you're eating Panda Express 2 times a week, you're eating In and Out, right? That's location specific, right? But you're eating in and out like 4 times a week because you love it, low key. Chick-fil-A a couple of times a week, right? Subway, oh, it's so easy and convenient. Oh, and it's a sandwich, so it's actually like good for you. So you're eating that a couple of times a week, and now you found yourself 80 to 85% of your meals are all these processed fast foods, and it's hard to make the change where one day, yeah, it's actually a lot easier to just go to the gym and maybe start lifting smaller weights that you can handle and then doing a little bit of cardio. That's not like crazy overbearing. But the dietary side of it is a lot scarier. I know I did it. Because how are you one day going to wake up and go, I'm done with that stuff? None of it. Now I'm going to eat chicken, rice, and broccoli with different sauces, right? Because that's a huge chasm that you have to bridge. That's a total 180 flip flop. So that's where a lot of people fail. And then they regress back to their own old habits. I did it multiple times. I understand it. But here's what I'll tell you, which is how I did it. And it's literally, these are the keys right here, okay? How you're going to do it. Because I'm on the other side of that chasm now. Okay. Chicken, rice, broccoli. Maybe switch the protein, maybe switch the veg, right? It's maybe switch the carb too, right? But it's pretty monotonous. I eat for sustenance now. I don't eat for joy, pleasure at all. Like, if I'm really getting kooky, if I'm going crazy, I'll get a I'll get an ice cream that's a protein ice cream from the store, and I'll eat a pint of protein ice cream that's like 400 calories and 30 grams of protein. That's whoa, we're off the deep end there, right? But this is almost 2 full years into my journey, right? And so here's what I'm telling you, okay? This is how you're going to bridge that almost what feels like an insurmountable gap. Start with one thing. For me, I like making it tangible. I like sharing my story, okay? For me, I'll tell you right now, I was addicted. Like if I had went to a psychiatrist, like they would have told me, we gotta, like you're like a drug addict and we gotta wane you off this, man. I was addicted to Dr. Pepper. And maybe you're laughing right now when you hear me say that, but it's not funny actually because I'm not joking. Okay, I'm talking. I'd be every place I'd go. I'm eating 80 to 85% out. I'm probably having 15 meals that are fast food. Every time I'm getting a large drink, what are those 32 to 45 ounces, depending on the restaurant? Dr. Pepper. I'm drinking cans. I'm drinking a bare minimum of 3 cans a day, right? 16 fluid ounces times three. I'm deep. I'm deep in it, and it's really scary because we'll go into that in a second here, but I was addicted, okay? And I did 75 hard, and I did 75 hard 3 times actually. And the first time I did it, that was my only dietary restriction. I was like, okay, and that was hard for me, right? Like you're supposed to challenge yourself, but not make it too easy, right? But I was so addicted. I was like, I'm done. No, and it wasn't just Dr. Pepper that I cut out. It was no dark soda anymore. None. None. Still drink Sprite, which like overall, I mean, not let's be honest, not that much better, okay? If a if a drink's first ingredient is high fructose corn syrup, you need to stop drinking it. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll just tell it to you as it is. But that's what I cut out, and it was different. I honestly had withdrawal symptoms. Like this is not a joke. I'm laughing and I'm smiling a lot, but this is not a joke. I was actually addicted to Dr. Pepper. And by the way, like I said that I wanted to just say, and we'll get into later, we're getting into it right now. Once you start getting into health and fitness and you start reading labels, you'll be so terrified of some of the garbage that you're putting into your body. Like look at a can of soda. Find out that a can of Dr. Pepper has 96% of your daily allotment of processed sugars in a 16-ounce can. And we're talking, I'm drinking 150 to 200 fluid ounces of this stuff. 10 10 times my daily allotted complex sugars a day. What do you think that's doing to my temple? And we're just talking about beverages. I'm not even talking about the 3 meals that I'm eating on a daily basis that are also highly processed garbage, okay? And again, I'm saying that the stuff you're eating is garbage, and I'm not judging you. Okay, I really don't want this podcast to come off as I'm judging you, because I'm not, because I was you. I was you, and I made the change. I have abs now. Okay? And it took 2 years of being disciplined. And by the way, just like the fitness is a scale, the discipline's a scale. You bet I was not putting on a 45-pound ruck at a 15% gradient walking 3 miles an hour for 2 miles when I was 246 pounds. I would have died. I literally would have died. I wouldn't even been able to physically do it. Okay? So it's a progression of scale. And the same thing, like right when you're starting your journey, cut one thing that you love, and then once you feel you've got that down, cut another thing. And maybe it's not like a whole category, because like cutting fast food's like a crazy large leap, right? Maybe it's like, okay, I have these 3 restaurants that I cycle regularly. Maybe it's cut one of them. And then after you lock that in, whatever that timeline looks like for you, 2 weeks, a month, a quarter, 3 months, cut the next one, right? So do it over time. Don't try to make this gigantic jump, because that's where people will fall back and regress into old habits and patterns, because they tried to bite off more than they could chew, hypothetically speaking, at the same time. And then it became insurmountable. And they're like, wait, I can't do this. And then they lose, and then they fall back into their old habits and patterns. Okay. So that really is the basis of this. And I promise you, listen to me. I I know that you don't love your body right now, and that's why you've sort of fallen in love and adopted this whole body positivity movement. You're like, hey, these people think I'm great because I'm fat. And also, we won't even go into the psyop of the media and the whole narrative of the country, how we're putting clinically overweight, morbidly obese models on covers of GQ and all this stuff. We're not going to even go down that whole rabbit hole, but they're just trying to generalize and make it acceptable in society. And again, I'm not judging you, but it's just not acceptable. It's literally not acceptable at all. You are responsible for your own health. And don't give me that crap. Oh, well, I have a thyroid condition, or I have this medical thing, or I have this. I cope. I eat to cope with my mental disorder, or I have depression. None of that is valid or relevant. And I'm sorry if that's making you feel like, oh, he's invalidating me. I'm loving you. I am loving you more than the amount of self love you're showing yourself. Because if you've allowed yourself to fall this far down, you're not loving yourself anymore. And what you think is loving, that continuing to overindulge in gluttony and self-loathing and self-hatred, like you're actually not loving yourself. You've just become so complacent that the devil has taken over your mind. And I it's all reversible. It is. And perhaps you do have a thyroid condition, and perhaps you do have actual depression that is legitimately psychologically diagnosed. But guess what? All of those things are reversible by taking care of your temple and building a relationship with Jesus Christ. Like, I couldn't even make this up. I wouldn't be sharing it if it wasn't my tangible reality that I experienced and went through. And now I feel a moral obligation to help other people do the same thing, because I did it and I know you can change your life. I know it. And that's why I'm not going to blow sunshine up your butt and say, oh, it's okay. You can just be morbidly obese and barely be able to walk, and just like, it's okay. It's not okay. And it's okay that you're there. It is okay that that's where you're at. That's not what I'm saying. It's not okay to be complacent in that and just accept it and then let it get worse and worse and worse. You are going to kill yourself. Do you understand? Chart out the actual tangible reality you're living, where you're headed. You're headed to medical disorders that are truly incurable. There is a point beyond no return, and it's a far point. Okay, it's really far actually. So you can reverse a lot. I want you to externalize the best, most vivacious version of yourself. And I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that you're not going to do that when you're not showing yourself real, true self love. So I even want to make a, like, I want to make a specific health and fitness regimen here that, like, I can break down to people so that they can do this and stick to it, because you're not gonna just bite it all off in one bite, okay? Metaphorically speaking again, right? It's a slow progression of a new character. It doesn't happen immediately. Doesn't happen overnight. And you're gonna adopt these new habits and disciplines and eating regiments, and you're gonna do it for 2 weeks, and then you're gonna be trying to figure out where the results are at, and you're not going to see any results. And then you're going to do it for another 2 weeks, you're a month in, you're not going to see any results. I didn't notice my parents, my sisters and my parents, my closest people to me, noticed before I did, and they pointed it out. It was at about 3 months into my fitness journey. I still didn't see anything. I didn't think that anything I was doing was paying off. It was about 6 to 8 months in before I looked in the mirror and realized, whoa, like, I think this whole thing's working a little bit. And that's when I actually reinvigorated me to go even harder, right? So if you are overweight, like really overweight, or even just not where you want to be physically, I want you to give yourself a little bit of grace, but also don't give yourself so much grace that you're just complacent and you're just okay with it. And you're like, oh, well, I guess this is my life then. Like, let's give ourselves enough grace to not be in self-loathing and like hate ourselves for it. But let's give ourselves enough self-love to go, okay, I am going to make the change today. You seeing what I'm saying? I love you. I hope you have a good day. I hope you have a great day, a beautiful, blessed day. And I hope that if this message resonated with you and you watched the whole thing, I hope that you reach out to me so that I can help you make this change. Have a beautiful day.